So, Jay, I'm a professor. You're a professor. We both teach. We even gonna end up teaching in a similar program as well. Um, let's recap everything we've covered so far, and tell people what to expect the remainder of this series. And this will be kind of like the pivot, if you wish.
Okay. We have gone back and we've said there is a problem with all of the emergence of Islam. This whole thing with trying to find Muhammad, we've looked for him. It's like trying to find Wali. At least you can find Wali. We can't find Muhammad anywhere. And we've said first, and I said one of the reasons why is that the Muhammad that everybody's looking for is a 9th and 10th century construct that is written hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles of way in some cases, because you're talking about Bukhara from Uzbekistan.
Right.
You're talking about Tabari from Tabaristan in what is today Iran, Uzbekistan today. These are hundreds, not just hundreds, but thousands of miles away. And so that's why you've got the wrong traditions. They're way too late and way too far north. That north-south divide that we've been talking about. So then we asked about the Quran. We asked about the Quran. What about the Quran? All these qira'ats that start to appear in the 8th, 9th, and 10th century, they don't appear at all in the 7th century. The same problem again. Look at where those Qurans are. Look at those qira'ats are. Every one of them is different. They all have different names, and those names and those men were only beginning to appear from 736 up until 905. Muhammad died in 632. You got the same problem, and look where they are mostly appearing in. 22 of the 30 are from either Basra or from Kufa or from up there in Damascus. 12 of them are from just one city alone, Kufa, which is just near Baghdad. Well, today's Baghdad. Now, that's the problem with the traditions. That's the problem with the Quran. Then we went and we asked, what about the coins? Let's look at the coins. And we looked at the coins, and lo and behold, we couldn't find any reference to anybody called Abu Bakr, Umar, or Uthman. We couldn't find any reference to Muhammad. We couldn't find any reference to Islam or Muslims, or any reference to Mecca, or any reference to the Quran. Nothing at all until Abdul Malik introduces it in 692. Then we went to the rock inscriptions, and we asked the same thing with the rock inscriptions. Can you show us anything from the 7th century? This is what I said in the debate with David Wood. Over and over again, I kept on asking David Wood, please, one piece of evidence from the 7th century.
That's the most recent debate that you did
just
in
2
November.
Weeks ago.
Right.
Just 2 weeks ago,
right.
Yeah. He could not come up with one piece of evidence. He just kept on talking about the traditions and about all the embarrassing stories, which is what he loves to do, and he loves to talk about those embarrassing stories. I don't care about those embarrassing stories anymore because they are not based on a historical person.
And by the way, I want to clarify, Jay is not fighting with David. Jay wanted to highlight the fact that if you rely only on the traditional stories, you lack enough evidence to support the existence of Muhammad.
There you go. Yeah. And I can see the same thing could be done with Jesus Christ. Because if you want to look at the Gnostic accounts of Jesus Christ, like the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, which is written in the late 2nd century, it ridicules Jesus. It shows him as a real jerk. And he sits there, and not only does he use his magical powers to incapacitate people, he kills people with his magical powers. That's not the Jesus of the 1st century. That's a Jesus of the Gnostic Jesus from the 2nd century. If you want to use embarrassing stories for Jesus, right, be careful. I'm not going to do that with Jesus, and we need to be careful if we're going to do that with Muhammad. Let's go to the historical Jesus. Let's go to the historical Muhammad. And when you look at the historical Muhammad, you will see it does not exist at all. Now, we then went to the rock inscriptions. We saw the exact same thing pre-690. Nothing about Islam, nothing about Muslims, Islam, Muhammad, Mecca, or the Quran. Those 5 things we're looking for. 690 after, from 710, his name starts to appear. From 720 to 730, then you start seeing these practices appear. And then from 730 on, then you start seeing this religion called Islam, and Muslims start to appear. And that's where you see the Islam that we're starting to see. But it's still not complete. It's still not completing. That we won't get until the Abbasid era.
Right.
We're going to get to that yet. So what are we going to do next? We're going to look at the Hijrah. We're going to look at this inscription, the first reference to Mecca that Patricia Corona referred to, that kind of blew this whole thing out of the water when we realized that there's no reference to a city called Mecca until 741. But I'm going to look at something else that she didn't look at in 741. And then we're going to start moving into some of the other areas of what are the questions that Muslims, or what are the suppositions that Muslims like to throw at us. Because they are saying, no, there is some references to Muhammad. Let's look at those, and we'll debunk every one of them. And that's why we have an awful lot yet to do, because we need to get through all of this to try to really solidify that there is a problem with not only the book, but also with the man, the book and the man, the book and the man. And that is, I want to find a book from Uthman, I can't find it. We looked at the 5 canons that Shadi Nasser introduced. Looked at the canon from 652, that didn't exist. We looked at the canon from 936, It looks like there's only 7 there. They got the wrong 7. We looked at the canon of Ashatabi from 1194, the 12th century. 14 of those canons that were introduced at that time, every one of them are
Ibn al-Jazari,
and then Jazari in
then
1429, and then
right.
finally we came back to the canon of 1924. In every case, we can see that this is an evolution of the text, this is an evolution of the canonization, an evolution of the Quran. The same thing we're finding with Muhammad. He evolved. He evolved from the Muhammad that we have yet to introduce the Muhammad that we do know of 7th century. Wait till you find him. That Muhammad is not the Muhammad of the 9th century. 2 completely different Muhammads.
That's
and I prefer the one of the 7th century. And I want nothing to do with the one of the 9th century. I agree with David. I agree with David and Sam Shamoun. They are doing right by confronting this guy because he's an embarrassment. He is an absolute embarrassment. Why is it that the Muslims forgot about the guy in the 7th century? We have yet to introduce him. That's yet to come.
Very good. Thank you so much. Of course, I wanted to do this to help people understand what we've covered and what to expect. And sometimes it's good to summarize things for them because not everybody probably was following these arguments the way you put it logically right now. Well, thank you again, brother, for doing that. Thank you, everyone, for watching us. Until we meet again next time, have a blessed day.